depth at your position in the defensive backfield in general, but corners in particular, wasn't what you wanted when you got here, but it has developed under you since you've been here, as well as Coach Granch, obviously. I just wonder from your perspective, how much fun has it been to develop those guys, and what specifically, how did you go about it, saying we need more corners, we need more bodies, we need guys we can trust and rely on?
Yeah, I think it starts with the scheme and the philosophy, just in our defense wanting to have the opportunity to play multiple guys, at multiple positions. I think across the board, it's hard when you don't have many options. So obviously in the recruiting process, going after guys that, can do more than one thing has always been kind of our deal, on defense. And each year I think you have to recruit or over-recruit, so to speak, because, part of the game is injuries. Part of the game is, guys don't develop as fast as you want. And so in that regard, I do think we've done a good job across the board getting, more and more viable options. Is it fun? No. Developing isn't fun. I kind of say, you're at one space in your career, and to get to that next place or to make that jump, it usually isn't pretty. So there's a lot of yelling and a lot of hard meetings and hard lessons they have to learn. But ultimately, we do believe that, the guys we have are guys that can get the job done. So in that way, yes, excited.
If you look around at the group you have, you like the way they have developed?
We're a long way off. That's just the reality of it. You got new faces and guys that have a bunch of snaps under their belt, but the majority of my guys don't have a ton of snaps. And so I just go into it with that understanding that they're going to have to learn in practice every single day. They're going to have to learn, some of them in games, and hopefully those hard lessons we learn in practice and right now, and take advantage of those opportunities in training camp where obviously we're seeing this great offense each and every day. So I hope those guys approach it with that mindset that, I'm getting that in-game experience really right now every day in practice. So, but it's been good. They're bought in and they've been working their tails off.
You touched on it there in your answer, versatility. How much different are things now versus when you arrived, as far as being able to move guys around back there with your group, with Alex's group, and feel better about things rather than just throw somebody over there and just sort of hope and pray that they perform well?
Yeah, on the coaching side of it, it's easy to say, hey, throw another guy in there, but he's got to get the job done as well. So on one hand, great to have, more options, but at the same token, you got to get the most out of whoever is out there, you know what I mean? And it's not as easy as just replace a guy. Those guys have to be playing up to the standard and do what their specific position asks them to do just as well. But, I think, the good side of all of it is that our guys, especially in the secondary, but across the board, they understand, hey, if I don't get my job done, it's not, or go again, or go again, or go again until you figure it out. No, at some point, someone else is going to get an opportunity. And I think that's probably the greatest difference from year one to, I guess, year three now for our defense is that, the competition level from position to position group is as we say, the price of rent has went way up, man. And so you only get so many opportunities, when you have, a line of guys, so to speak, waiting behind you and fighting and vying for these positions. And so for us as coaches, competition has always been the greatest motivator for someone to figure it out. And that's in business, that's in all walks of life. You tend to figure things out when you can get replaced really fast. So, and I think that's a good thing for us if we're going to go where we want to go.
Coach, a lot of the narrative over this year has been just talking about the improved defense overall. How balanced do you have to be with the guys that taking ownership of what they've been able to do, but not yet getting complacent and they need to focus on getting better every practice, every game?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big piece of it. You can see some of the guys the Pat Fields of the world, Troubles, and Jaden Davis. Some of these guys just played a lot of snaps. And again, I always talk through the secondary lens, but other guys across the board that are taking those leadership roles, that are kind of taking over for us a little bit in terms of getting the group up to speed and where they need to be. And so we have to, as coaches, yield a little bit of that to them, because they have been out there in those moments, in those games. They do have championships under their belt. And so those guys, for us, lucky for us, we have great leaders and are still developing some as well. So they're leading the charge as much as us. But it's been a good process. I think that our job is to motivate these dudes, to inspire them, to develop them. But we don't play on Saturdays. And so they do have to go out there and take the ownership in the defense. And, you often hear Coach Grant say, there's no magic call. There's no magic defense. What really makes this thing go is them and how much they believe in, what we're doing and how we do it as much as anything. Not the what as much, but how, and how we're going to run to the ball and play with great effort. And, I'm happy, I'm excited, because when I look out there, I see dudes flying around. Some of them making mistakes, some aren't, but those dudes are playing fast. They're playing with their hair on fire, and that's our job, to continue to correct the mistakes as coaches. So.
Lloyd, I wanted to ask you about Latrell McCutcheon. I know that was a big get for you guys on the recruiting trail. How has he come in? How has he performed so far? And do you expect that he would have a chance to play this year?
Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job. He was able to come in early, which is always, such a benefit now, for those guys to get that spring ball under their belt as much as anything, just kind of get up to speed and get out of high school mode, so to speak. So it was really good for him getting here early. He definitely flashed in spring and showed some natural ability of what he can be. And then he struggled at times and hit a wall a little bit, just like all freshmen do when they're out there and they're getting up to speed to big boy football, as we call it. So, but he's done a good job this camp. We're a week and a half in, and the good thing I've seen him even in this short time is show the ability to get the job done. And he's taken a lot of reps. We really take that approach with all our guys. The day and age of making early decisions on whether a guy's going to redshirt or not are kind of obsolete, to be honest. You kind of go into it and tell all those freshmen and treat them all the same. Hey, we're preparing you to play, and they get their 4 games. So you kind of have to, if you want a kid to honestly have a shot to help you, you got to go into it with that mindset. So we're mindful of that, making sure we get those guys enough reps. But Latrell's definitely a special talent. And you can see why he was such a highly sought-after guy, coming out. So he's got to keep working, but I expect good things from him this season.
Is Justin Harrington a corner or safety?
Yeah. Good question. Walking through the door, you probably could mistake him for a lot of different positions, because he's 6'3", probably 212 pounds, which is on the lighter end for him, but I keep his weight down. But he's been corner. He's been corner exclusively since he's been here. From day one, he's been a corner. We knew he had size potential. We knew he was an extremely fast guy, and so we started him out at corner. Unfortunate for him, he got hurt a couple days into his campaign last year, so there went that experience for him. But, he learned what it's like to sit on the sideline and that love for football. And he's been a guy that I think through this first 8 or 10 days at camp has really flashed. He's really been exciting to watch for me as a coach, but for him personally, I know he's been, sitting around waiting for a year to get back out there. And so he's a corner. He's a corner all the way, and has done a really, really good job. So excited about him and what he's going to do for us this season.
DJ Graham told us a great story last week about you guys really had to convince him to go to corner.
Yeah.
How many realistic can you play at corner? Him and Jaden Davis and Woody Washington. Can you play 4? How many can you play at that position?
Yeah, I think that in my mind, I at least would want to say 4 guys. You want to go into a game with 2 corners, and then obviously you want to be able to sub both guys. So I would think at a minimum 4, but I'll probably be shooting for 5 this year, to be honest. Because we have the numbers, and different things are going to happen throughout the season. I know we don't have a bye week until week 9 or 10, so it's going to be a little bit of a grind, and so I don't want to shelf anybody or limit anybody. So that's my plan, to get as many guys ready. And part of that also goes back into the position flexibility as well, keeping those guys ready and active and engaged, because you just don't know. Maybe you got to throw a corner at nickel at some point, you know what I mean? And so you want those guys ready. But ultimately, when it comes down to depth and who's going to start, I always tell those guys, you guys decide that each and every day with how you practice, how you prepare, how you play, and we have those conversations. But ultimately, you're interviewing every day for a job and a role. Now, the good thing for them is we have proof that you don't have to play an entire game to get drafted. We've seen that from each and every guy that we've had drafted on defense the last, 2 or 3 years here, that they weren't guys that just started and played the whole game. I think about Trey Brown last year, probably played about 30, 35 snaps a game. You know what I mean? And, DJ rolled in and JD. So we've got proof to say, hey, you're your best, when you're playing your best, not necessarily when you're playing the most. And so that's been a good philosophy for us, keeping guys fresh as well. So.
Yeah, Coach, you've seen an increase in talent level and an increase in results in the past couple of years. But has there been an increased level in the confidence level, in the swagger around the program? Do you have a swagger now among your defensive backs?
Yeah, they better. I mean, we preach speed, D, and as much as anything, I think that swagger or that confidence you speak of, I think it really comes from having success on the football field, and specifically in games. I think that it's one thing to sit in a meeting and talk with confidence and answer questions and be dialed in, and then it's another thing to actually go out there and do it in front of, moving parts and moving bodies and all the chaos and things that happens in a practice, which we try to create chaos for them each and every day. And then obviously the next part is in game. And I think that as a coach, you have to be willing to, put yourself out there a little bit. We've tended to, on defense, to throw some young guys out there in the heat of battle and in the fire early in the season to get those guys as much as anything for them, but as much as anything for us. So we can, get that confidence ourselves and just live with it, and understand that, those guys are new. Some of them, they're freshmen, and they're going to have their growing pains. But that confidence, I think, comes from sustained success on the field. And so then it goes back to, okay, how do you have success on an individual play? Well, it goes back to technique. It goes back to fundamentals. It goes back to doing what you've been coached to do. And it doesn't mean it's going to work every single time, right? I'm sure, again, great examples. Coach Grinch always give these guys great. Steph Curry shoots the exact same way every time. Sometimes he makes it, sometimes he don't. You just got to keep using your technique and trusting in it and worry about the shots you make. So, but we should have a confident group overall when you talk about going into year 3 of a defense where these guys are running essentially the same defense we've been, they've been in it. So it's good to see.
Running low on time here, Ryan Chapman.
Yeah, Roy, you talked a lot about having some youth and experience. One of the guys, Jaden, has been here a while, seen a lot of action. What have you seen from him, both in his growth on the field so far in camp, but also off the field as far as trying to help bring some of those guys along for you guys?
Yeah, I'll answer reverse. Off the field, Jaden's always been very professional in his approach, in meetings and with amongst his teammates. I think he's a respected teammate by his teammates, and I get to see him every day, so I respect his approach, and that's one part of it. Again, he was a kid that had an opportunity to play a good amount as a freshman, because at that moment I think he was the third corner, and we really only played about 3 corners that year, so he got a ton of time as a freshman. But as all freshmen understand, you know, almost anything you do as a freshman is looked at as that's pretty good, because you're judged by a standard of, well, he's new or he's a freshman. And I think, you know, like I said before, the price of rent goes up each and every year. And so what you did last year, you know, as good as it may be by a freshman standard, isn't good enough. And so he's battled and battled in his career, and he's understood that each and every year I got to reprove myself. Each and every year I can't be good by, you know, I'm a sophomore now standard. No, I got to be the best guy out there, you know, and I think that all our guys are understanding that each and every year, that you're not just judged by what you did the year before, right? As good as it may have been, you're judged by what you do on the day-to-day, and where does that fall in line where the standard of this defense or the standard of this secondary is, you know, and it's really, really high right now for those guys. I mean, guys that have played a lot of ball, like you mentioned, Jaden, guys understand, like, there's no, you know, system in place where I'm just a lock to be in this spot, a starter or playing time. I got to play at a high, high level, and that competition and that buildup of depth has only helped to push that narrative for us. And that's how it should be at an elite program on any side of the ball. So.
Coach, at 12:48, do you have time for one more?
Yeah, sure.
Jenny?
Just going to get a workout.
Hey, Roy. I actually wanted to throw you a little bit of a curveball and ask you about one of your strength and conditioning coaches, Cesar Martinez. I know all those guys are really high energy, sort of like you, so I assume you kind of appreciate what they bring in the weight room, conditioning morning, stuff like that. But what is it like to have you know, he sort of seems to take it to another level. Have a guy like that around the program, what does he bring? And then have you ever had any close calls on high collisions with him on the sideline?
No, I haven't had any collisions because I'm usually out on the football field getting my shirt pulled to get back on the sideline. But no, Cesar is, I mean, you know, energy and enthusiasm is infectious. And, you know, I think that, you know, our team, our coaches, they feed off of that, you know, and I think it's, as much as anything, him just being who he is and just having passion for the work that we put in. You know, that's my approach. You know, you got an option every day. Everybody in this room has a choice when you wake up of how you're going to attack your day. And you can attack it and kind of mull through it, and, you know, it's going to happen. You got to go to work regardless of how you feel, you know, or you can go attack this thing and say, hey, I'm going to get after it, you know, and I'm going to be excited about it, and I'm going to bring somebody along with me, and that's my approach. And I think Caesar's no different, you know, and Coach Wiley and a bunch of those guys, they truly have passion for our kids and seeing them have success on the football field, you know, and I think people, you know, have to remind themselves that, you know, we spend a lot of times with these guys. I mean, more than their parents for this 4 or 5 year window, and as much as anybody, they spend a lot more time with the strength coaches than they do us. And so those guys are invested into them. And so just like a proud papa on game day, you know, they're excited to see their guys and their boys go out there, these young men, make plays and get after it. And so are we as coaches. And so it's pretty cool to see, you know. It's pretty cool to see.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you.